So I'm here with Dishonored lead technical designer Ricardo Bear. We've just seen the demo of the game. Looks very exciting. Can you tell us a bit, Ricardo, about what the kind of goals were going into the project?
Well, that's a good question because one of the very important core values for us as developers is putting a lot of control and creativity in the player's hands. It comes from, it's the kind of games that we like to play, so it's the kind of game that we want to make, it's the kind of game that we love. We hope everybody else loves it as much as we do. So that's where we started. We have a lot of guys on the team who worked on games like Deus Ex, and a lot of Arcane veterans who made Arx Fatalis and Dark Messiah. And those kind of games have that as an important value, and that's what we are trying to put into Dishonored.
I feel like there should almost be a unique name for that genre, that kind of Deus Ex and Bioshock and games which have that kind of tool set to play with and kind of be creative with Inhabit. But there isn't one, is there? Everyone knows the DNA of them, but there's not like a...
There kind of is. You know, developers and some hardcore gamers call them immersive sims. But you know, you could say first-person action games that have stealth elements and RPG elements embedded in them.
So what do you think is the key to making a good immersive sim, and why does Dishonored get it right in your view?
I would say two things. I think you have to have a world that is rich with interactivity, that is very coherent. And then the second thing is you've got to give the player really good tools that allow lots of deep gameplay, right? The player has to be able to come into a situation, look at it, make a plan, and say, this is how I'm going to do it. And the rules have to operate in a predictable way. So and what happens is sublime at times, right? It's like something that you can be proud of because you thought of it, you implemented it, and something magical happened with the game systems.
And I guess when you're first creating the systems and implementing them, it's probably a bit of a mess and nothing quite works. What was that kind of breakthrough moment you had when you thought, or you guys thought, this is going to work actually, and because this nails it here?
You know, it's happened at multiple points in the project because we have lots of powers, lots of different gadgets and, you know, different spaces, and it happens at different times with different features, right? So, you know, the first time we saw somebody jump off of a huge building and possess someone right before they hit the ground, we were like, that is awesome. And, you know, no one had thought of it, no one had thought of doing that before. Or the first time somebody had combined double jump and blink to completely bypass a bunch of security systems. We were like, well, there went 30 minutes of gameplay in like 2 minutes, you know. But on the other hand, we were like, yeah, but the player who thinks of that, who thinks of doing that, is going to feel proud, and we don't want to shut that down because that's a player expression. So
was the possession stuff in right from the get-go? Because that got one of the biggest sort of like laughter of pleasure in the demo when jumped into the fish and went up the drain. Like, was that always there, the idea that you could possess animals? And
yeah, you know, the idea of possession was always there, and I'm pretty sure we started with people because we had AIs, people AI up and running for since the beginning of the game, and it eventually grew because our full set of AI weren't complete and locked down yet. So as we added more AIs, we were like, okay, what do we want to do with possession with these guys? And early on we committed to like everything should be possessible, even the tall boys, you know, and that kind of made the programmers quake a little bit, like, oh, are you sure about that? So yeah, but with every AI we added, it's been a challenge to make sure that we could support it. But
the thing with games, especially in the, as I'm now going to regularly call it, the immersive sim genre, the balancing between, because what you always get told, like we were shown in the demo, is, well, you can play this completely stealthily and you can be like a thief in the night and kill everyone and no one will notice, and that'll be great and you'll feel super cool. Or you can go crazy murder man and just butcher your way through the streets. To my mind, like where sometimes those games run into sort of frustrating kind of bottlenecks is when you try and play stealthily but find yourself messing up, so you end up kind of wanting to be cool but end up being forced into the kind of the butcher mode. How do you balance stuff like that, given the, you know, you want to sell millions of copies, you're going to have a huge number of people playing it, all who approach it slightly differently?
Well, there's two ways, right? One way is we have a lot of stealth in the game. You can play the game stealthy, but if you mess stealth up, we don't consider that a fail, because when you mess up stealth, guards spot you and the alarms go off, that is another state that the game can be in that's fun. It's not a game over state, it's not a we're going to punish you now state, it's like, this is another fun state. How are you going to recover from this? Now some players, they're going to elect to just say, oh well, I got busted, I'm going to murder everyone. And some players are going to figure out how to escape that scenario, and that's super fun too. So I'll just give you an example of like a combinatorial way that a player could do that. Like, for some reason they got busted and a bunch of guards start to swarm them, they could throw down a rat swarm, which is a power the player has, the rats will start to crawl all over the guards, and in the middle of that, they can equip the possess power and possess one of their own rats that they summon and then scurry away. So that's a good way for like the stealthy guy to get back into a stealth state if that's what he wants to do.
I guess the problem where other games break down is if one of the states is less fun to play than the other. So so the balancing act is making them almost equal, right?
Yeah, we've tried really hard to make sure it's viable and super fun to play both ways. It's not like a failure state, in one case or the other. But it does come down to taste too, right? Like it depends. The way that you like to play is gonna influence your strategy.
So when you guys must have got the news at the same time as us that BioShock Infinite was going to be delayed. Was that kind of like popping the champagne corks in the office? Because, I mean, I'm sure you're friends with plenty of people there, but you're a new IP and you're operating in a similar space, I think it's fair to say. But now you have a clear run at 2012, that's good news?
Oh yeah, that was good news. We do know a lot of the guys working on that game, and we're rooting for them because we like that kind of game too. But the holiday season is super crowded all the time, so anytime one of the big guys drops out and makes a little room, the other guys are happy. So,
I mean, what do you think is the key to successfully launching a new IP? I mean, one of the things I've sort of taken away from this year's E3 is, sequels aren't a new thing, but they seem even more prevalent this year, and I get the sense that fatigue is getting even kind of higher. There's so many kind of modern worldy or sci-fi shooters. And it was interesting to see at the Ubisoft conference the great reception that Watch Dogs got, because I think people are hungry for fresh new IPs, of which you are one. So what do you guys feel is the kind of key message you need to get out there to kind of cut through and stand out?
Well, the important things to us are that this is a game about a supernatural assassin that puts tons of options and tools and powers in the player's hands to use creatively. And the second thing is, this takes place in a totally unique world. It takes place in the city of Dunwall. It's a place that we have spent 3 years or more building from the ground up. We've put lots of work and lots of love into it, and we really hope everybody else loves it as much as we do.
What was the reason for going for like a kind of steampunky sort of world and that painterly design? Because I think they look lovely, but they're not like obviously commercial. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's definitely not a photorealistic approach, and we have a really awesome art team directed by Sebastian Mitton and Victor Antonov, and they did a really good job. They did tons of research, and they brought all of their expertise to creating this painterly look, and we are super happy with it. And I think it's one of the things that makes Dishonored stand out.
I mean, given the power usage and the way I was looking at how quickly he was able to switch between the different abilities, is it tough designing that for both console and for PC and trying to make the experience still feel the same?
I don't think so. I think the consoles are really powerful now, so it's mostly like a technical issue, and then a controls issue. And so we just make sure that we have advocates on our team for the consoles and advocates for the PC, and they make their voice heard. And so we make sure we're not leaving anything behind.
Like I'm a console kid, but I was chatting to one of my colleagues, Graham, on PC Game, and he says that the thing these days is effectively like PC games are being hobbled. Hobbled is too strong a word, but they're effectively being pegged because they have to, multi-format is where the big money is, because you want to sell, like we said, millions of copies. Is it ever frustrating as a creative that you think like if you just were to go PC, you could blow the visuals out, like have crazy resolution and stuff? You
could do that in one sense. On the other hand, you might have a smaller audience, because then all of a sudden everyone has to have the most powerful PC, So I don't know. All developers, they always want to have more powerful stuff to put their visions on. So it's kind of a perennial thing. I don't know that it'll be a long time before we're like, at last we can do everything we want to do. So I don't know, it's recurrent.
Cool. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you, appreciate it.